I'm David, this is Nick, and this is Creative Differences. Indie House. Tell us about your acting career.
I actually don't know why actors on IMDb. Maybe I put it on there somewhere. I mean, I have done. The only thing I would say, the only way I'm going to try and confront your ridicule,
justify.
Yes, which is incidentally totally apt and correct.
No,
I did. What I did was literally in my mid-20s. I started studying acting, and when I say studying acting, it was just like a local. It was run by a guy who had done a drama degree. But I went to that because I wanted to know what it was like to be directed.
Brilliant.
And therefore, after that, I did a few things, and then I got involved in. There was a casting agency, and I can't even remember how I think I got in touch. I think they got in touch because of this thing I was doing, and they used to cast people, but it was more real people who could also act rather than actors. Not that actors, because we all know actors aren't real people.
No, just figments.
Case in point, Dave.
Yeah.
Case in point.
Thank you very much. I live in a box.
But that meant I ended up doing a few little bit parts in some commercials and bits and pieces, and cool. I did a few stage plays and stuff and bits and pieces.
So, and it was just to get experience from the other point of view, the other side of the camera.
Just to know what it was like, and it was really, really valuable for that. Actually,
that's brilliant. I wish more directors would consider that. Because that's awesome. You never sort of considered sticking at it?
No, I mean, I actually quite enjoy. I'd quite like to do it, but it's just yet another thing to worry about, isn't it? And you know, I'll leave that to people like you who can act. Frankly,
I'm sure you can act. The actual thing on IMDb was, I think it was more recent than that. As an actor, you were in. Bear with, actor. Take Me Back, 2018. Says gig audience.
Take Me Back?
That's what it says. Were you not
Jesus, no, I know what that is. That was I can't believe they put that on there. I mean, no, that's not an acting gig. That was just an extra. I literally turned up. A mate of mine was making a short film and said they needed some extras, so I rocked up, and I don't even know.
Yeah, you missed it. You were missing the bug. You were bitten, and it's a late onset acting crisis thing.
All right, I'm not going to lie, Dad. I made that film. Yes, there was a star in it. There was a lead in it. But the moment that everyone remembers is my ass as they camera pans past. That's what they remember.
Oh, did you point it out to people? That's me. Yeah. That's me.
I'm surprised there's not a still of it up on the Take Me Back side.
I'm frightened to look to find out. Let's assume there isn't. The writing came before the directing, did it?
Yeah, only the reason the writing came before the directing was because it was so much easier to. Because again, bear in mind that I grew up in an age, lad, where it was much harder. You know, just getting hold of Super 8 film, and then you had to send it off to get processed, and you had to edit in camera. So making films, it was much more expensive than it is now, and it was much harder. And if you wanted to do anything, Super 8 was pretty dodgy format, really. I mean, I know it's got this lovely look now, but in the day it was just basically a dodgy format. And if you wanted to make something on 16mm or something, it was just so expensive. Wow. So the way I looked at it was writing was a way to also try and get in the industry. Always wanted to be a director. Mm-hmm. Liked the idea of being a writer-director as well. But if you'd have said I could only do one thing, it would be directing.
Cool.
But it was an easy way to get yourself noticed, get in.
So when you say you prefer directing, what is it about directing that you prefer over the writing? Because obviously with writing, you are creating a world from nothing. You are God. Whereas directing, you're bringing someone else's vision to life, sort of thing. You're like a narrator.
That does go back to whether you're a writer, director, or director. But if you literally just take, but I think that's what I love about it. I think that's there's a couple of answers to that question. One is I do think that's what I love about it. The other thing is I love about it is I love the whole process. So I love the pre-production where you're imagining it and you're turning it into something and you can see it in your head and you know all the things that you want to do. And then I used to hate the shooting because the shooting was always felt like a compromise. You know, it's often impossible to get exactly what you want or how you see it. And then when I say I used to hate it, it wasn't for a great long period of my life. But then I realized exactly what I was saying about actually so often it's better than you thought. You work with an actor, you know, genuinely when we work with you, you would come in and you would do your thing and it's like, oh yeah, that's brilliant. That really works.
Thank you.
And so and the DP might light it actually better than you thought. And I love that whole process of bringing it to life. And then I also love the editing process where you get back in and you start to see it work and you change things about. And so I just love the whole process.
So you've done a bit of everything, have you? Like not just writing and directing and acting. You've done editing and things like that.
Yeah, well, again, funnily enough, one of the reasons I took that first job, you know, I said when Christopher Figg asked me to write the screenplay and stuff, I was an assistant editor. Yeah. The reason I went into editing was I wanted to learn about editing so that it made me a better director.
Okay.
And actually, you know, again, if not that I'm in a place to give anybody advice, but if I would give advice to any young filmmaker, learn editing, as in understand editing, because it just makes so much difference to what you're shooting, to what you know you're going to need, to what you're going to get, to how you're going to craft the film. It's such an important aspect of it.
There's your take home. Learn editing. If you want to be a director, learn it all. I suppose, yeah, I mean, you know, understanding how the whole machine works. You know, like it's like a mechanic doesn't just learn, you know, how the steering works. They have to learn how the whole engine works. So 100%. I suppose being a director, you have to understand how, you know, do you take that into account when you're directing? Do you think, how are they going to edit this? Or do you think...
100%.
Yeah?
Yeah, so literally the whole time, if we're approaching a scene, I'll think about the shots we need. And I might... And one thing I like to do, generally speaking... I always know how I want the scene to look and how I want it. So, for example, if it came to blocking of actors, I know in my head where I think everyone should be and what the shot should look like. I'm not saying that's always the best version of it, for definite, but I know what I want. Yeah. But I won't. It'll be very unusual for me to walk onto set and say, right, Dave, you're standing there. Jane, you're standing there, you come in, you do this, you kiss, you turn around, you pick up the TV, throw it across the room, you walk out. I would much rather say, okay, this is the scene, this is what's happened before. What do you think, Dave? How did that? And then, because that's exactly what I'm saying, but you might come up with something brilliant. Yeah. You might say, do you know what, the first thing I'd do is come and smash the TV. Right. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Okay. And we could...
Oh, hang on, you're frozen again.
Really don't think it works. Then I've got my default. I can say, oh no, actually, what I thought is that you would be standing here and Jane would be standing here. Can we try and make that work? Yeah. And then, so I've forgotten why I was talking about this because I was just talking about the approach. Oh, so you were talking about the editing.
Yeah. So, if you sort of take it into account.
So because that's my approach, quite often I'll block out a scene with you and watch it. And then I might say, okay, right, in that case, I was thinking we were going to be here and then we were going to do a top shot. Right. But actually, because the first thing you do is smash the TV, it's going to work much better if we've got a low angle over here, then we cut to your single. So I'm cutting it in my head as I'm watching it, thinking about those shots. And then the other reason I personally think that as a director, editing is incredibly valuable is if I've got a good idea of how the scene's going to cut, say I cut into say we do your close-up,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a 60-second scene between you and Jane, I've got a pretty good idea of the bits that I want in that close-up. So I don't feel your performance have to be pitch perfect for every single note of that 60 seconds. I'll go, yeah, no, that's the bit I'm going to use. We can move it. Or the camera operator might say, oh, I'm really sorry, I just lost focus on the end of it there. And I'll say, well, don't worry, I'm not going to use that bit because I know how I'm going to edit it.
Right.
Well, obviously on you, Dave. 60 seconds. I would just cover you in close up for the whole film. That obviously, I know that.
Of course, just stick a steady cam on me, turn it the other way round.
Yeah.
No, but that's really interesting because I'd assume that some directors are just concentrating on that they want everything to be perfect. So when it does come to editing, everything's perfect. So if they change their mind at the last minute, they can, where you've said, I'm not going to use that bit, they might say, actually, I would like to use that bit. Have you ever had that, or?
No, and of course there's an element of that, and there's but there's a trade-off for that. So the trade-off for that might be, for example, and again, you can tell me better than I can tell you, but as an actor, if you've got a minute-long scene and you've already done it 6 times because we've covered it in the wide,
right,
and then we come into your close-up, and I want every second of that 60 seconds, there does reach a stage where you're just babbling and you can't make sense of it anymore, and you don't want to do it anymore, and you're getting tired. And I don't see the point in that if I know that it's incredibly unlikely that I'm going to use that part of the scene.
I'll tell you what it is from my personal point of view. When that sort of thing happens, the problem is blood sugar. And I'm not diabetic or anything, but when you've done the same scene over and over and over again, and you want it to be right, you really do. So you put pressure on yourself. I've got. I want this to be the best take yet. You do sort of start to wilt a little bit, and so just a quick drink of Lucozade or something just to get the energy levels back up can make a difference, or just like a 2-minute break, just to and I know when we worked together before, there'd be times where we'd just sort of in between takes we'd just sort of just mill and just chill out a little bit before going for another take. Yeah, it's interesting, this learning about it from the other. So
I hope you're going to interview yourself for one of these, by the way.
I will. I'll set up another camera and I'll do split screen with myself. I
think that would be really entertaining. Actually, I can see that working.
I will do. I'll do it just for you, Nick. Just for you.
Thank you.
I apologise for the green screen. Last time I used it, it was much better than this. But I've noticed that when my headphone gap. it's
also when you do this with your hands, we see your chair behind you. But
I don't mind the chair. I'm surprised the chair isn't there anyway, because the chair's black.
Right.
So I do apologise for the constant iffiness. How have you been doing over the past year? I mean, I know you said at the beginning it's that March was looking brilliant, and then it's just dropped off. Have things? Obviously, we've had 3 lockdowns now. We're coming to the end of the 3rd lockdown. Have things started to get back to some degree of normal, or is it?
Yeah, no. I as I say, I've been really, really lucky. I've been working pretty much constantly. So that's either been, obviously I've done a few edits where we've used existing material or stock footage, right, and and a few creatives like that. But because even over the lockdowns, filming was considered, we were allowed to film, and it was considered essential. And we obviously we had all sorts of rules and regulations and masks and tests and gloves and all of that kind of stuff. And when you're filming, and at times it's but this is all kind of corporate stuff. So it's all been we can't have too many people in the room, and we have to be distanced and all of that stuff. Yeah. But we have been lucky enough to go out and shoot and do some stuff, and because I've on a lot of stuff recently, I've also edited myself. So from the point of view of duration of work, I've been so lucky. So I might do it might just be a 1-day shoot, but then by the time I've edited it and done all the prep, it turns into 8-9 days work.
Yeah, yeah. I'm looking
yeah,
forward to that.
Well, 8 or 9 days
8 or
work.
9 days, yeah. Did you? Was it just mostly corporate or all corporate? Because I know there have been some people doing short films over the.
No, I didn't. Do you know what? I still sort of regret that I didn't. I kind of thought at one stage, what a great idea, because everyone was in lockdown, and I even thought about taking a little crew away and just, you know, testing everybody, isolating yourself, and making. And funnily enough, I can plug my next feature.
Go for it.
We're literally trying to raise finance at the moment for the next film, which is called Elemental.
Okay.
It's set out on safari. It's about a father and son reuniting after becoming disillusioned. When I say a father and son, the father's 50 and the son's 14.
Right.
And they go away on safari. And this, believe it or not, this actually happens. There's a rogue bull elephant that's destroying the local crops.
Right.
And they're offered the guide tells them that they are allowed to shoot the elephant humanely.
Right.
And this actually happens. You can be offered to shoot the elephant, because the elephant has to be shot, because it's ruining local crops. And if it doesn't get shot by someone with a proper rifle who knows what they're doing, then the local villagers will just go out and try and kill it in an inhumane way.
And there's no other way to
survive.
There's no other way to sort of move the elephant to a.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Dave.
I don't want to spoil it.
First, they talk about shooting it, and then the father insists that he's got this better plan, which is to move it, because it's set in Namibia, to move it to Botswana, where there's a sanctuary.
Okay.
And that's what he does. And throughout this whole process, he reunites with his son.
Cool.
The reason I'm telling you about that, apart from it's great to plug anything, just in case there's someone out there with a million quid. At one stage, I was trying to say to the producers, look, but we're on safari, because we'd literally shoot the whole thing on safari. Can't we just take a nucleus crew, test everybody, isolate them for 2 weeks, and then just spend 6 weeks in Namibia shooting it? But it didn't quite work out like that. But having said that, that could possibly, now we've sort of got on board with it and we're trying to raise the finance, that could well be the next option, actually.
Awesome.
Is that if you know, because who knows how long lockdowns are continuing.
Why can't you just make films in London, Nick? Why do you have to keep going around the world?
Yeah, you're right. Who wants to go on safari to Namibia and make a film? I'd much rather be in London.
Whatever. So do you, when you do these things, do you crowdfund? Or do you have other means of trying to raise the money?
No, this one, so the first Solo was financed by the guy that wrote it and produced it.
Wow.
And as I say, ultra low budget, but even then it cost him a lot of money.
I bet, yeah.
He financed that, fair play to him, which was amazing. Elemental, though, we're going out to try and get a proper finance. So it'll, to be honest with you, I'm leaving that to the producers a little bit more. Crowdfunding, probably not, but it depends what you're calling crowdfunding. I mean, to be honest, I don't know that much about.
I was just thinking about like Kickstarter and that sort of stuff. Though other crowdfunding platforms are available.
No, I don't think they'll do that kind of thing. But I think for example, one of the ways they might sell it is, you know, you can. I've been looking at safaris, and you can spend £20,000 on a safari right now if you wanted to, and it'd be an amazing experience. But 20,000 quid a head.
A lot of money.
So part of what we might say to people is, well, look, you can come on this safari, you can be a guest of honor, we're trying to get some high profile cast on it, so you can meet the cast, you might even be able to be in a little bit of a scene, and you're going to be on safari anyway, so it's just like a little added extra. So that's one option.
Would it be possible, because I'm assuming these safaris haven't been getting a lot of business with everything, exactly. Would it be possible to do a deal with them where while you're shooting the film, you shoot like a commercial, a tourist commercial at the same time?
I don't know.
And get like a reduced... So if you do the commercial thing for free, they might give you, what they would have paid you for doing the commercial, what they would have paid a commercial company to do the commercial, they will reduce that off your cost to go to the safari.
Good point. I'll ring the producers after this.
If you need any help,
Good
Nick,
idea.
you just give me a ring, give me a shout.
I will.
I'll help you.
I will. In fact, sod them. What are you doing next year, Dave?
I'm on safari, Nick. I'm playing an elephant. Yeah, so everything's been all right then. So the work's been coming in. You've got stuff looking to the future. Have you been doing any writing yourself, or has it just been?
No, as I say, not well. Apart from corporate stuff and corporate scripts
And the kids'
creative issues and the kids' book. No, I haven't done any screenplay writing. But the brilliant thing about the kids' book is, I've literally just this week got a little bit quieter. And now I'm raring to go on my next script. And that what really kick-started that was the fact that I just did this little novel and sort of learned how to write again.
Cool.
Because that's when I very first started writing scripts, I had a freaking typewriter. So it's a bit like your longhand, you're typing it out. But it was a different discipline.
Yeah.
It was. I'm not saying it was better or anything, but it was just different. So you kind of. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of went with the flow more, but had just a different way of working. I think word processor for me has made it, because you can constantly change it. That's what makes it. I'm constantly going to go back and I'm going to look at it again and maybe that wasn't right after all. Whereas in the old days, I'd have to retype a load of sheets of paper.
You can put your little Tipex strips in there and hit the right
exactly.
Yeah, get it just the right height. You've deleted the wrong line. Do you find that you've completed the script, it's ready to go, and you're happy with it, it's perfect in your eyes, it's done, but it takes you 6 months before you get around to filming it, by which time you pick it up, like ready to go, you read the first page and you're like, this is crap, I need to rewrite this whole script. Do you ever get that, or once it's done, is it done?
Well, you see, this goes back to the beauty of why I like directing, Dave. Because when that happens, you change it on set, or you adapt it, or or in the cutting room, or
You say
so basically, what you've made me realise is the reason I like directing is it's a way to stop your fuck-ups or to correct fuck-ups. Thank you for that, Dave.
Okay, actors, we're going to improvise today.
Exactly. Come up with some great lines.
So you got the safari thing and that. Are you working on what's coming after that? How far ahead do you sort of plan?
I'm not a great planner, to be honest. I'm not no. I actually, again, I kind of wish I had been. I wish I'd been more focused. I was always massively focused on what I was doing, and I wanted to write the next scripts. I wanted to, but the actual kind of being one of those, it's a right. Well, I can't remember which side of the brain it is, but it's the wrong side of the brain for me. It's the other. Do you know what I mean? It's being organised and really methodical and writing yourself plans and.
You're more of the creative brain than the. I don't know. I don't want to say assertive, academic, I suppose.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's rational, whatever it is. But anyway, I've never been as good at that as I should be. But I do think ahead. So the script. So, and actually, kind of funnily enough, it is interesting because it kind of goes back to some of the stuff that you've been talking about. Is that the scripts that I'm gagging to write now, which funnily enough, I did write about 4 years ago. I wrote it and did exactly what you said. I went back and there's lots of it I like,
right,
but also it's fundamentally flawed,
right,
and I need complete. And I got halfway through rewriting it by trying to meddle around with it. I was trying to tune it, and then I realised I don't need to tune it. I need to chuck the engine out and put a new one in,
right,
which is fine, but that's what I want to do next. But the reason I was coming to that is that. That one I do want to write and direct, and I really love the idea, and I'm really keen to do it, and I really, really want to make it. But that's what I like. So the Elemental one is written by the same writer that wrote Solo.
Oh, okay.
And I love working on someone else's work and doing that.
Yeah.
But I'm also gagging to write one of this film that I'm writing now or about to write now. I really, really want to direct as well. So.
Awesome, excellent. Now, with regards to, I keep lost my mic. With regards to people starting out, what do you think someone new to the industry or someone who wants to be in the industry should prioritize above all else? What should be the priority for someone starting out?
Starting out to do what? Which I know.
Well, as you are a writer, director, producer, editor, actor, you can take your pick. Let's start with writing. If someone wants to start out as a writer, what is the thing that they should prioritise, in your opinion? It could be more than one thing.
No. The reason I asked is if you were talking about getting into the industry generally, or if you talking about wanting to be a writer and or director, because they're two slightly different things, and not exclusive. They can go together, but there's two slightly different things. I think some of it we've sort of covered anyway. Both of them is just do it. And I say that from experience of having just done it and experience of not having just done it. Exactly as I said, wished I'd gone and made my feature 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Because it is the best way to learn. I think, because this is sort of advice, isn't it? But I feel reluctant to give advice because I do genuinely believe that the best advice is to not take any advice.
There you go. But, then that's fine.
I get it. It's a little bit. Well, do you know what? It's a bit like directing, isn't it? Or my belief about directing is listen to everyone, take everything on board, but steer your own walk your own path.
Yeah.
So listen to everything everybody says. So the fundamentals for me, if I wanted to be a writer, read the books, read Sid Field, read Save the Cat, read all of those books, read them all.
Yeah.
Take them on board, but don't obsess over them.
Right.
Take them advice, but write your own thing and just write. It's the same with directing. Learn editing, learn a bit about acting, learn a bit about being a DOP, what their challenges are, but just go out and make some films. It's all kind of fundamentally the same thing.
Yeah. So I want to ask you about the DOP thing. Were you ever sort of tempted to go down that road instead? Because obviously, if you're going around with a Super 8 camera, you are, obviously you're directing and everything, but you are DOPing as well. So
no, funnily enough, it's a really interesting question. Because funnily enough, when we were doing exactly as you were just saying, running around with a Super 8 camera, for a while I thought that is what I wanted to do. I thought I just wanted to be a DOP, and then I kind of realised that exactly as I said, I loved the editing part of it. Right. I loved working with actors. I loved all of that, and I thought I'm just not going to get all of that from being a DOP. But having said that, I think I could have had a happy second life as a DOP.
Yeah.
Although I think my rational brain would have let me down a little bit because I've shot some of my own stuff, and and when I say shot some of my own stuff, I mean on a very basic level, and I can do it relatively badly. Right. But there's so much to remember as a DP and so much to worry about.
Yeah.
It just isn't, and it's a bit of both. It's a bit of right, it's a bit of left, and not something I'm that good at.
When I've been working with different DOPs, the different types of lenses and stuff from DOP to DOP is just nuts. It's like, but the other one didn't have that. What's that do? And then even knowing, when they're measuring out the focus lengths and things, and they're marking, they've got like the zoom wheel, and this is things that you don't think about as an actor. When they've got the zoom wheel and they've got different coloured pens to mark on there's a whiteboard thing on the zoom wheel, and they're marking in different colours. And you've got to make sure that you hit the right colour for the right person, and there's so much. But
it is, but it's like anything, isn't it? If you practice any one of the skills enough, and I know you have to have some talent towards it, but you'll get good at it. But genuinely, that's like acting, isn't it? everybody thinks that as an actor, all you have to rock up and speak some lines, but you don't. You're thinking about, or before and after, you're thinking about the rest of the script. You've got to hit marks.
I'm rubbish at marks.
But you know what I mean? It is a hell of a lot more than standing up and talking.
And it's when you're standing there thinking to yourself, I should be in the moment. Why aren't I in the moment? Get in the moment, get in the moment, get in the moment, get in the moment. And you're dragging yourself further and further out of the moment. But it's,
No, definitely. And I think that must be the hardest thing about acting. You know, well, and definitely as a famous actor out of Take Me Back, I know that. No, but I think that must be the.
Were you in the moment, Nick?
So difficult.
Were you in the moment?
Yeah.
And Take Me Back.
Yeah. Oh, of course I was. Of course
I was.
was.
Well, that's good. That's good. I think what it is it's the leading up to it. Sometimes when you're doing a scene, an emotional scene, I say sometimes, I personally prefer to do the whole thing as one long, even if it's like a 2-minute, 3-minute scene, rather than cutting. I'd rather do the whole thing. And what you find is there's like a sweet spot where, say you do 5 takes, maybe take number 4 is the one that's perfect, because the others emotions are building up with each take, and then energy starts to fade afterwards. Mm-hmm. So there's that point as an actor where you're not going to get any more out of me. You either use that one, or we take a break for at least, depending how emotional it is, maybe a couple of hours, just to wind down and just maybe try again tomorrow. No,
totally, and that absolutely goes back to what I was saying about getting that take perfect for 2 minutes and knowing as a director which bit you're likely to use in the edit. And you don't necessarily know, but having a really good idea of if you're going to, because if we're going to do a wide and 2 close-ups and possibly a mid, and I insist that every single one of those takes is perfect, you could do that scene 25 times.
Yeah, and
it's impossible to maintain that kind of emotion and spontaneity and being in the moment 25 times in a row.
Absolutely. It's a shame someone hasn't invented a camera with other cameras sort of, it sounds stupid, but other cameras sort of built on it. So you've got your wide and you can have your close-up at the same time. So you can get it all in one take. Are they?
They're talking about it coming, Dave.
That's what they need. Rather, you can't have a room full of cameras because the angles are going to be, that's what you want to have. I mean, phones now, you can do screen in screen, can't you? You can film multiple. So it should be possible. But that would...
It will be. We'll be doing it one day.
Good. Excellent.
But also, I was going to say, your point about saying you reached the 4th take, something that was really interesting on Solo. One of the actors on Solo, I felt pretty much first take was always the one, and this was not just I felt. I knew this while we were filming, but it became even more apparent in the cutting room. First take, they pretty much nailed it, and then not necessarily, it didn't fall off a cliff after that, but it gradually got a little bit worse. Maybe you might get a take where it got better, but gradually got a little bit worse.
Right.
The other actor, nearly always third take was best. No. So it was really interesting. So it meant that, for example, I would have to decide what to do. So I might do one of their close. I might say, I'd try and find a good reason for them so that we're not making them self-conscious. But one of them, I might start with a close-up.
Right.
Get that one out of the way so that the person who's going to get their third take doesn't really matter that one's not so good. Then I might come out to the... Do you know what I mean? And it was just kind of trying to work that out sometimes, those dynamics.
So that's really clever, I wouldn't have thought of that. I'd have been like, we'll use take 2. Just go for the happy medium. But that's really cool. That's really... I'll tell you what, just speaking about Solo for a second, what was really... what I think is really special about it is it's one of those films where you've got your main cast, your main characters, and beautiful scenery and everything, but you've also got the, I don't want to call them minor characters who are not crucial to the main story really, but they add something that would be that you would miss if they weren't there. And the two characters are the I don't want to spoil anything, but the old man who doesn't like the English, and the other old man with the stick. Now, they just added something. So I don't know if it was like a sense of atmosphere, or there was just something. It's like the difference between a chocolate bar and a Cadbury's cream egg chocolate bar. You know, the other chocolate bars are available. It was like that. It was they gave it an extra something, even though they were minor characters and they weren't in it as much as, you know. I'm not saying the other people were not good at all. I'm just saying this added an extra layer.
No, and I agree with you, actually. I think that's really true. And they were, it was brilliant. I mean, they were in the scripts anyway, definitely, but we did try and develop those as much as we could as well.
It was just something extra, like an extra bit of spice that just made it.
It was very much, and this is one of the benefits of the guy who wrote it actually living in the village. But it was very much what you hit on, which is really interesting, is that we were really trying to generate a sense of, because it's about a guy learning about community, we were trying to generate a little sense of community and what's it actually like in this little village and stuff, with all those nuances.
It's really cool. The other thing I took from it is that I really want to learn to play the trumpet now. I'll add it to my list of instruments.
The guy who played the trumpet on it is a guy called Anthony Thompson. He played it. Obviously, the actor wasn't playing it.
Okay.
And he used to play for the Gorillas and stuff. And he's
really?
an amazing trumpeter. Has played in the paid backing for the Gorillas and done all sorts of stuff. Amazing. He was brilliant.
And he was he on set for the guy to mime to, or did you have like a recording? That's probably stupid.
The only day he was on the funeral scene.
Oh really?
Yeah, and it literally got to the point where, because I mean, incredible that an actor would do this. I can't believe an actor would do this, but the actor told us he could play the trumpet.
He told you he could when he could. Oh, well, before he got the part.
Yeah, it was on his CV that he could play a trumpet. No, to be fair, Tristan, I'm sorry, this is no, he could play the trumpet, but there's levels of playing the trumpet, isn't there? And he could just about play the trumpet.
Okay.
And he did a great job of miming it and stuff on that day.
Yeah.
And he could play it enough, but he certainly wasn't an accomplished trumpeter.
You didn't ask him to.
On the day, Anthony Thompson was playing the trumpet in the background in the funeral scene, so that he could mime to it, and that was incredible. So
new people to the industry, where do you think they should go for experience?
Well, I mean, there's two levels to that, isn't there? There's experience as in if you want to make films, and that so much of that is just go out and make them. Because there's loads of people out there.
Everyone's got a phone.
No, but you can. I mean, it's such a cliche, but it's true. You can now. You can live and edit it on your home computer. Yeah. So that's the first one. But if you want to, but then the industry there's a couple of sides to the industry, isn't there? There is, if you just want to be involved in making films, like I say, I am now in my day-to-day corporate commercial brand work, then find companies that do that, because they're always looking for good people. If you want to get into the wider, bigger drama feature film world, I mean, that's probably as difficult as it's ever been. Yeah. And it's just phoning round, talking to people, and when you rock up, make yourself really useful. You said earlier about good runners of the oil to the machine.
Yes, absolutely.
100% agree with that. And if you're a good runner, it will get recognised, and people will love you, and they will want you there. Yeah. So if you have the right attitude and you accept that you're probably I spent my first 2 years in the industry was literally my first day on the job. I worked in a studio for a while. They were making commercials in the studio. Literally, I don't know if I should tell you this story. Literally, my first day on the job, within the first hour, the director went to the toilet and badly blocked the toilet. And almost my first job in the film industry was a rubber glove.
No!
And down the YouTube.
Oh!
And then, no, I'm not suggesting that anybody. I'm not suggesting.
Be a runner!
But the point I'm trying to make is that I was just wildly enthusiastic. I'd have done anything. I'd literally, obviously legal, but I'd have done anything. And I was really keen. I was really passionate. And I used to get, I used in that studio job. The crew used to get in about 7:38. I used to get in at 6 o'clock in the morning in the winter and turn all the heaters on. And I used to sit at the top of a ladder, freezing my nuts off.
Right.
But because I thought it was important to warm the studio for when the crew got in. And I'm not saying you should, but it's just that I'm definitely not talking about everybody now, but I think because it was I know it's really hard to get into the industry now, but when I was trying to get into the industry, it was ridiculously hard because of the unions. If your dad wasn't in it, you couldn't get in, basically. Right. And my dad wasn't in it. So it was ridiculously hard to get in. So you had to be so keen, and sometimes I feel that now people expect too much, especially if they've come out of university and got a media degree, and they expect to be walking on set and directing or consulting with you or editing your project. That just won't happen.
It's about earning your keep, isn't it? Really, you got to show that you got to want the responsibility before you'll be given the responsibility.
100%. And I genuinely believe there's no better industry where if you show keen and you show willing, there's always someone who will take you under their wing.
Absolutely. And it's our industry is a real sense of community. I don't think of it as an industry. It is a community. Everyone is so supportive and wants everyone else to do well. Not just because they want the film to do well, but because you care about each other. I mean, as an actor, you get to know everyone so intimately well, so quickly, because you're just being open. You're making yourself vulnerable when you're playing a part. You're showing those emotions, and you don't get that working in a bank or in a restaurant or whatever. It's just
and it's really obvious that what you're working on will have an impact on the output of it. Like you say, I'm sure I've never worked in a bank or anything, but I'm sure you can work in a bank and feel it's ultimately going to have no real impact on any outcome. Working on a film, whatever capacity you're in, you're 100% right. Without a shadow of a doubt, it's going to affect how good that film is. And if you're passionate about film or like film or even just pretty much like the industry, then you've got to care about that.
Absolutely. And you can sit there in, like, if it's a mainstream film, or if it's an independent film that makes it to the cinema or onto one of the streamy channels, you contributed to that. You can say, I contributed to that. And there's no such thing as just a runner. If you're a runner, if your job was making the tea for the actors, thank you, first of all, because that's one of the most important jobs in the thing. But you still contributed, because it's without you there doing what you do, the thing wouldn't move as smoothly as it does. It's as simple as that.
Oh man, it's really. I'd hate it to sound patronising, but it's so true. It's something as simple as making a cup of tea can literally transform my day.
Yes.
Funnily enough, it's not really that related, but so the DP that I work with nearly all the time was working on a feature film with another director that I know. And I just said to them, I wasn't that busy at the time. I said, I'd love to just come along and watch. Because nearly every time I've been on a set, except when I was a runner, I've been directing it or involved with it. So you don't get that same distance from it. And they said, yeah, brilliant, come along. So I went along and I arrived, and a runner met me at the door. and he was constantly checking where I was. He showed me onto the set. He immediately said, "Do you want a cup of tea?" And he just totally looked after me, which he didn't have to do any of that at all. And it wasn't like I was important. I was literally just this guy who was rocking up.
Right.
Yes, the director and the DP knew me, so they'd probably said, "Look after him." But he didn't have to do it anywhere near as well as he does. Right. I've now tried to give him work. I'm finding things for him.
Brilliant.
If I shoot another feature, without a shadow of a doubt, probably not even as a runner, I'll probably ask him if he can be a second, or because I just feel like for someone to do that for no reason, for no personal gain, and just be that enthused about the industry, it just struck me.
That's brilliant, and that's the sort of thing that's going to keep this industry going, isn't it? It's just people who are enthused, who genuinely care about it. No one will get anywhere in this industry if they're there just for the sake of being there, because it's an easy, it's not an easy job, but because they consider it's art, so it's easy. You've got to care. You've got to be passionate about it. Otherwise, there are a billion people who will take your place, and
also people will know that you're not passionate. Yeah. And by all means, don't be passionate. But to go back to your original question, what do you need to do and how are you going to get on? That's what, and it sounds like you agree. I think that's what you need to be, and you need to show that. Yeah. And need to understand that you'll still have a fantastic time and you're still involved in a brilliant industry. So it's not a negative.
No, absolutely. Have you got anything that we can share on the notes section? Anything for any projects or anything available to watch online?
Obviously, obviously everybody needs to go and watch Solo with an exclamation mark.
Yeah, with an exclamation. Yeah, not Star Wars.
Search for that on Amazon. Done.
It is on Amazon.
No, there's nothing. I've got, in terms of sort of, if anybody was remotely interested, and I wouldn't be remotely offended if they weren't, but if they wanted to see kind of my day job work, I've got a website, but to be honest, I'm terrible at updating the website. So I've got the best place to check out my work is Vimeo.
Vimeo, there you go. But it's Nic Cornwall.
You have to search for Vimeo LBF, because Little Big Fish Films is my company, but LBF because Big Fish Films in America tried to sue me.
Why didn't we talk about this?
Slightly similar names.
But it's a different name.
Oh mate, don't get me started. It's all over. But when I went back to them and said, yeah, well, go on then, sue me, to call their bluff, they then said, okay. So they then didn't reply to that, but then they contacted Vimeo, and you're not allowed to have a similar name on Vimeo. So Vimeo made me change it from Little Big Fish Films to LBF.
That's ridiculous.
Which is, I understand why Vimeo do it, because they don't want to get into all sorts of legal battles with people. But all a load of nonsense.
It is. It really is. So yeah, cool. Okay, so I'll pop a link for Little Big Fish Films on your Vimeo into the comments. So if anyone wants to have a look at that, they can do. Could they do a search for you as well, Nic Cornwall?
They can if they like. I don't know what they'll find.
Okay, I didn't know if maybe it would take them to the same place. No,
I don't know. Never done it.
I've never had to search for myself.
I was going to say, I'm an actor. I'm not an actor. I don't search myself constantly, Dave.
I haven't done that for a long time. Last time I did, I was very disappointed, and I've not done it since. Cool. Okay. So that's it then.
Lovely.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for chatting.
Thanks for having me.
I
really enjoyed it. It was nearly 2 hours, man.
I know.
really enjoyed it though. It's
hour and 40 minutes. Oh, thank you, man. It's you're my first. You popped my cherry, Nick.
Oh, good. Oh, goodness me. Well, may you have many more.
I look forward to seeing that on IMDb.